Hey guys, I'm Amanda and I'm the blogger behind the Happy Hour Kansas, and today I'm going to give you guys 6 tips to how to be more productive in college. So I have a great list of productivity tips going up on the blog today at thehappyhourkansas.com. So after you guys watch this video, you should definitely check it out. I'll put it in the description bar down below. But I'm just going to give you guys a rundown of some of the tips that are going on in the blog today, as well as just kind of some additions just for this video of me kind of explaining all of these tips a little bit more in detail, a little bit more in depth than I did on the blog. So definitely still go check out the blog. It's really going to be a great blog all about productivity and some tips that have helped me be more productive in college. And so the first tip is don't underestimate the power of just starting your task. So you can start with a smaller task first, like even making a to-do list, but seriously, just starting your task will help you be so much more productive, because throughout my time as a student, I found that the hardest part of a task is just starting that task. And I know it sounds really, really small, but just starting the task will make your life a lot easier. So even if you don't feel like doing something, just start the task that you need to get done, because once you start the task, it'll be so much easier to finish the task. Once you kind of get in the thick of doing a task, it's just so much easier and it makes your life really easy. So a lot of people complain, or I know I complain a lot when I'm having to do a lot of schoolwork, but literally just starting doing something is going to help me finish it. Or once I've started a task, I feel like, I don't know why I didn't start this earlier. I could have started this so much earlier and gotten it done so much easier or so much quicker if I had just started this like a few days ago. So just start your task. I know it's not always great to start tasks, but the sooner you start it, the sooner you'll get finished. So just start the task. That is my first productivity tip. My second one is take advantage of missed time. So we have so much missed time throughout the day, whether we are walking to class or driving to class, or whether you're like between classes and you're like, I can't get anything done during this 10-minute break that I have between classes, but you can get so much done during that time. So I say that you can take advantage of that missed time by listening to audiobooks or podcasts about your subject matter. So if you're a sociology major like me, I listen to a lot of sociology podcasts throughout the day, or like not necessarily sociology podcasts, although some of them are, but a lot of them are just like society podcasts, because a lot of the stuff that I talk about is just society stuff as well, but also sociology specific podcasts. I listen to those too. You can listen to your books on audiobook. Right now I'm reading an audiobook called Dreamland. I'm listening to an audiobook called Dreamland and reading the book Dreamland, because I have it to write a book, kind of a book report about it in October, and it's one of my class books, but I found it on Audible as well as the book so that I could follow along, and I highlight the book whenever I see something interesting. But you can also just listen to the audiobook. You don't have to read along with the actual book if that's not something you want to do. But audiobooks are just so much faster than reading the actual book itself, because I'm a slow reader, especially when it's not a book that's like a Mindy Kaling book or something like that, or it's not Rainbow Rowell. So just having the audiobooks is really good. And Audible.com, this is not sponsored whatsoever, but I really do love them. I use them. They have like a one audiobook a month for like $15 plan, and that's what I usually get. And so it's just really awesome to have like audiobooks on deck for whenever I want to read books for class, or whenever I just want to read my own books for pleasure, but I don't have time to actually read the books. I'll buy them on audiobook, and I'll get the audiobooks read to me, and it's really quick and easy, and it helps me read more books that way. And you can also record class lectures. You obviously want to ask your professor before you record them, but if you can record them, definitely do that, and that's a really great way to take advantage of missed time, because you can really be listening to and absorbing old lectures, especially right before a test. So if your professors are okay with you recording them, definitely record them and then listen back to those during your downtime, like commutes and stuff. Another really great thing is the app Quizlet, or like any kind of quizzing app that has like flashcards. A lot of people have like just flashcards like on a ring or something. So if you like physical flashcards, you could do this too, and that could be a really great time to take advantage of missed time. But also just like getting the app Quizlet, or if you're studying for a big test that's like a standardized test, there are plenty of apps. Like right now I have like 3 or 4 GRE apps on my phone right now, and I do those like in between classes and stuff. When I have some downtime, I might go on and answer a couple of practice questions for the GRE. So if you have some really cool apps like that, so if you are taking the SAT or the ACT, they have like those kind of prep apps. You have like Praxis apps and GMAT apps, like pretty much anything you can think of, they have an app for it. And it's really easy to do that kind of stuff during your missed time, and like when you're on the treadmill at the gym, or when you're commuting, you can get some work in. And so the next thing I want to say for productivity, my third tip, is to stop multitasking. In addition to that, using the Pomodoro technique. So I have noticed with myself that I am a horrible multitasker. I would like to think that I'm just like a great multitasker, but I'm just not a great multitasker. I'm actually a horrible multitasker, and that's something I had to notice about myself. So I don't try to do schoolwork at the same time do something else, because I know that one task will be done really well while the other task will not be done so well. So if I'm doing like laundry and work and schoolwork at the same time, that's like different. I don't have to like look after the laundry too much. But if I'm trying to like cook dinner and work on schoolwork at the same time, this is not going to happen. I'm just going to be working on my dinner and not working on schoolwork. So I have to be careful about multitasking. So what I do instead is a thing called the Pomodoro technique. And the Pomodoro technique is one of my favorite methods of doing schoolwork. And I talked about this on the blog a few weeks back about why I love the Pomodoro technique so much. It's a really great method. Essentially, you work for 25 minutes straight. You can adjust the time from 25 to 45 minutes is kind of what I suggest. I don't really suggest doing more than that. So you do 25 to 45 minutes worth of work, and then you take a 5-minute break. And during that break, you can like check Twitter or go on Instagram, take a Snapchat selfie, whatever you want to do. But during the 25 to 45 minutes where you're working, you are just working on whatever task you have at hand. And each Pomodoro, you're only supposed to do one task. Unless you finish that task, then you can go on to another task during that Pomodoro. But the essential thing is that you don't just task hop. You focus on one task the entire Pomodoro, unless you run out of a task. Unless you finish that task during that Pomodoro, and then obviously you can move on to another task. But it's just one task at a time, and it's really great for me because I need that. I need one task at a time. I don't need to do a million things. So I really also like it because it gives me a chance to have a break and to take breaks throughout my study session, because especially when I'm doing things like grading, or I'm doing things like reading academic articles, doing that for longer than 25 to 45 minutes is really difficult for me. And so I use this for a lot of different things through my blog and through stuff with class. And depending on the task, I do up the Pomodoros. And so like when I'm blogging, I'm usually like 45 minutes. But when I'm reading for class, it's usually about 25 minutes, because if I do more than that, I get really frustrated. So the Pomodoro technique is my favorite technique to up my productivity. And then so it's 25 minutes on, 5 minutes off, and you do that for 3 to 4 cycles, and then on the 4th break, you take a longer break. So instead of a 5-minute break, you might take a 15 to 30-minute break. But you don't want to take longer breaks after every single timer. So you just do that on like the 4th timer and not any other time besides that. And then also just limiting your social media usage during your productivity sessions if you're not using the Pomodoro method, because obviously if you're using the Pomodoro technique, You're going to be limiting your your use of social media, because you're not going to be doing any of that during the time where you're on. And then, yeah, so definitely just think about that. Like, the Pomodoro technique is great. I'll link an article where I kind of explain it way better and why I like the Pomodoro technique, and so that you guys can see that as well. So the next thing is to break down your tasks and plan them. So I write a lot of huge papers. Like, some of my papers are like 15 to 20 to 25 pages. So like 15 to 25 pages is a lot of work. And when I think of a 15 to 25 page paper, I get upset and I get angry and I get nervous and I get sad. I get threatened. But if I break it down into sections or break it down into pages, that's a lot easier to handle and manage than a 15 to 25 page paper. So think of it as 15 one-page papers instead of 15 page paper. So breaking down your tasks in your planner is really important. I have an Emily Lay simplified planner, and I am able to break down things very easily there. I also use things like Asana and Trello to break down my tasks. I especially like Asana and Trello because they allow you to have multiple subtasks under a task, so that you can essentially say, okay, this is my 15-page paper, but in order to get there, I have to review, I have to do all of these things in order to make a 15 to 25 page paper, so that I'm not just thinking of it as a 15 to 25 page paper, but I'm thinking of it as in all the subtasks that are associated with that 15 to 25 page paper. And then I can go through each subtask and check those off, and at the end of it all, I have a 15 to 25 page paper. So breaking down your tasks is really important. And the fifth tip that I have is to figure out your study techniques. So are you an auditory, a visual, or a tactile, or a kinesthetic learner? And so I really like to do this because the more you know what kind of learner you are, the easier your studying will be, and the less time you'll have to spend studying, because your study techniques will work better. So I'm an auditory learner, a little bit visual, but mostly auditory, which is pretty good for my major as a sociology major, because a lot of my professors teach in an auditory way, or a visual way, but not really a kinesthetic way. So it's good for me because, a lot of my professors teach that way, and then I'm able to grasp it really well because I'm an auditory learner. But if you're not an auditory learner, you're like a visual learner, or you're like a kinesthetic learner, there are lots of resources out there that I touch on the blog, so that you guys can see what kind of studying works best for you. And also, I have on the blog a link to a quiz that's all about your learning style and whatnot, so you can find out what kind of learner you are. It's like a 20-question quiz. It's really short and easy. And then you can use that to look up methods of studying that work best for you. Because obviously I don't know if a lot of people are auditory learners. It's what professors often use as the study or as the class technique in a lot of classes, unless you're taking a lot of labs. Most of it's like auditory, like all lectures are pretty auditory, maybe a little visual, but mostly auditory. And so that doesn't work for everybody. So I'm definitely leaving that there so that you guys can come up with techniques of studying that's going to work for your learning style, and then you can spend less time studying, or the time that you're spending studying is more effective for you. Because if you're a kinesthetic learner trying to learn like an auditory learner, that won't work for you. And if I'm an auditory learner trying to learn like a kinesthetic learner, that's not going to work for me. So yeah. And then the last thing is stop repeating the task. And so I'm awful at this, and I know a lot of people are awful at this, is repeating the task. So the first thing is, don't open an email unless you know you can respond to that email, because opening up emails and constantly looking at them, constantly reading them over and over and over is not going to be the good thing. And that's spending many minutes looking for the email after you've already opened it and trying to look for it again, and it just wastes time. So instead, only open emails once you know you can respond. Most emails you probably won't have to respond to. You can open those up if you know you're not going to have to respond to them in the time or at all. But if you know you're going to have to respond to an email, don't open it until you can respond to it, until you have the time to sit down and respond. That way you're not constantly thinking about it, or you're not constantly opening it multiple times trying to essentially answer it but not getting to it. And then the other thing is stop refreshing your email. I mean your email too, but stop refreshing your social media. So I'm really bad at this. Like, I will go through all of my Twitter and I'll be like, yes, okay, all this Twitter is awesome. And then I'll go to a point where I've seen things before, and then I'll go refresh it again, or I'll refresh my email, or refresh my Instagram, or refresh my Facebook. Social media is going to be there when you get done studying or get done doing whatever productive things you have to do. You might miss some things, but honestly, does anything you see on social media ever like change your life in a huge way? For the most part, probably not. So if you miss something, it's something. No, the world's not going to end because you're being productive for a few minutes. So don't refresh your email. Stop refreshing your email or your social media, and do you get some studying in and do more productive stuff. So I hope you guys like this video. I know it's super long, but definitely go check out the blog post if you want to, and it's going to be in the down bar. I'm going to also link some stuff about the Pomodoro technique, because I don't know if I did a really great job of explaining it in this video. But I can't wait to talk to you guys next week. I'll see you later. Bye!